This took far too long to f***ing make. A portal opens in the middle of a street. Kamajo, with Oldness on his shoulders still, the Amakusa, led by Kinzaki, and McIntyre exits through and the portal closes behind them. The city of Belfast is still in one piece, if one looks at it from a distance. But within the city, the only feeling that can be found is shock. Refugees from villages and cities taken and annexed by the Celtic Republic and affected by the war are cluttering the sidewalks. With them are yards upon yards of corpses draped over by white cloths. Holy shit. I didn't think it was this bad. The Celtics are allowing us to ship the refugees out of the city via the sea to Scotland. But the bodies? I do not know. He tries his best not to look at them as he moves forward. The others follows. Kamijo looks to the side. Men, women, and children sleeping or laying down, waiting for their turns to cross the channel. One couple is treating each other's wounds, with food sitting in between them. A mother and father are giving aid to their son who had lost his eye and leg as a result of a bombing raid in Castledurg. The young boy's blooming spirit and the fact that he survived is a sign that he is very lucky but will always remember what happened. Both Itsuo and Tatamiya looks to the right. Both spots the dead on the sidewalk, missing body parts resulting in the loss of blood and covering the sheets in red. And the smell of rotting flesh hits everyone. A revolting scent and horrific sight. Externally, this is what they all are going to expect in this war. But internally, it is something that they have seen before, and motivation is the main driving force. McIntyre turns and comes down to St. Anne's Cathedral. He lifts his head up and stares at the building. So many memories. Hard to believe it's been 10 years to the very day. I never thought I would see this day. I hope Zeno spares it. He and the group approaches the front entrance of the church as he looks down. Bagan. Please, hurry. Gather all of your strength before it is too late. He takes in a deep breath and opens the doors. Inside, Agnese and her battle nuns, including Lucia with St. Catherine's wheel, Angeline, who is in training, the glasses-wearing Agatha and Katerina, Newlight, Sasa Krutsev, Orel, Marshall, Cromwell, and Magnus, looks to the entrance to see McIntyre, Kamajo, Oldness, and the Amakusa coming forward. Oh, nice to see the destroyer still with the boy. I can hear you, piss off! Angeline holds back her friend from taking a step. Can you blame her? We all hunted you down. Your Kamajo risked everything to save you. Look, you think it was that easy trying to forget that I was a wanted teen for a few hours? I almost died, you know. Look on the bright side. At least you got a workout, says the same nun who wore pink bunny underwear. Agnese blushes with her nuns giggling at her. Or that time I destroyed your rope. Ah, shut up! It is like I am a principal in a high school. Fitting, isn't it, Sensei? McIntyre stops in the middle of the nav with the others following suit. Everyone, gather around! Everyone does what the man tells them. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a large, folded sheet of paper. He goes down to one knee and unfolds the paper. All right, here's the situation right now. The Celtic army are at the very gates, and Divis is within the limits of the capital. The paper turns out to be the map of the city of Belfast. This is the current battle line right now. And this is where each Celtic army unit are located, according to British intelligence. How many soldiers do they have? We do not know. We believe they have massive reserves from who knows where. Huh. With a small island, I thought it would be much smaller. We all thought that. But look at what happened on the first day of the war. So, what do you want us to do? The NIA has a capacity of over 35,000 strong with 15,000 British Army volunteers. Force J of the Royal Navy will arrive on the morning of the 5th. And that is where all of you come in. He points his finger on the map. Agnese, you and your nuns will be with the British 12th Brigade in the northeast facing against the 9th Armored Cavalry Battalion. Right. Kinzaki, you, Marshall, and Orwell will be with Kamajo, Oldness, and myself and the 34th Tank Division. We will be up against the 14th Armored Cavalry Battalion and the 1st Cavalry Division to the west. Yes, sir. Lulai and Krutzev will be with the 15th Infantry Battalion to the southwest, facing against the 88th Infantry Brigade. It shall be done. This'll be fun. Cromwell, I hope you, Ellis, Magnus, and his witches do not mind being with the British 38th Infantry Brigade, going up against both the 40th Infantry Division and the 9th Infantry Regiment. Not at all. We'll get it done. And finally, the Amoxa will be with the British 15th Battalion, facing against the 77th Crusader Regiment. We'll do our best. Your only objective is to hold them back as best you can. I know the odds are great, but you must never give up. What about Index? From what I can guess, Montgomery is still with Zenov, and he himself is with the 1st Cavalry Division. Chances are that he will be close to Divis. However, for you, the method of getting to them is tricky. Why? McIntyre takes in a deep breath and looks at Kamajo in the eyes. Sir Kamajo, you will not be running on foot. Instead, you will be riding inside of the British Army's main battle tank, the Challenger 2. Toma becomes speechless. His face turns white, then snaps out of the shock.
Okay. I have been inside of a fast jet, many cars, a cargo plane, a power suit, 2 separate bikes, one of which I'm owning right now, and even a giant cross. But a tank? No thank you!
He crosses his arms and turns his back. McIntyre sighs and stands back to his feet. I am sorry, Kamajo. If you do not like it, then it is fine. However, in this point in time, I can care less and give a flying flamingo about your concern. You're going to ride in a Challenger 2, and that is final. The spiky-haired boy's eyes opens wide. Everyone around feels pity, yet humored at once. Kamajo lowers his head in defeat. My rotten luck. The sun rises over the horizon in the east. Its rays shine down through the partial clouds. Some enters through the glass windows of the cathedral. One shines on Kamajo's sleeping face. He opens his eyes and blocks the rays with his hand. Ultinus wakes up and yawns. Both have slept on one of the benches inside of the cathedral all night, and now it is morning. They sit up and yawn. Thomas stretches his arms and legs. Good morning. Francis shows a breakfast burrito in front of him as he stops stretching. Oh, morning. He takes the burrito and unwraps it. A bottle of orange juice is placed right next to him. Kamajo breaks the burrito in half and hands one to Ultinus. Did you sleep well? Hardly. I barely slept at all. Are you nervous about what is to come? Well, that's part of it. Well, what was troubling you? I don't know. Almost getting blown up in Russia, that sort of thing. He takes a sip of orange juice. You may be suffering from PTSD. Huh? Post-traumatic stress disorder. It is a condition that affects the state of mind, usually caused by something that happened in one's life and often seen in veterans who went through war. Self-destructive behavior, anxiety, and depression are signs of PTSD. That would explain the constant grunting. I thought the puppet was having a wet dream. I'm going to ignore that. He and Ultinus takes a bite of their breakfast burrito. Francis stops sipping on his own orange juice and looks at the boy. You know, considering that you have it, I am surprised that you are willing to risk your life for Montgomery. Well, that's what I do, really. And I am surprised that you have not learned to not speak when your mouth is full of food. I thought you were raised better than that. I said that's what I do. I can't just turn my back against someone who's important to me, says the same teenager who friend-zoned her. Shut up. That is fair, but you know that you are not the only one worried for one's own well-being. Oh, right. Tell me, you have been with Madame Montgomery for 6 months, yes? Yeah. Hard to believe, really. The feeling of time flying without anyone noticing. He takes a bite of his breakfast burrito. A thought comes to Kamajo's mind. Man, hard to believe that you used to train her. Can't imagine what she would be like if she, finished her training. I guarantee that she will be on par with Ultinus before she lost her powers. Yeah, right. The boy and the former magic god turns their heads, and their eyes locks on the man. Wait, you can understand Japanese? Of course I can. If you can understand our native language, then I may be able to understand another language, but I refuse to speak that language. So, do not say anything crude in your native language. That goes for you too, Ultinus. Drit. Gata Vita. I'll keep that in mind. Kamajo eats the last piece of the burrito. The sound of Angeline entering the nave in a hurry, rushing over to Lucia with a newspaper in her hands, gets the attention of the three. Hey, did you hear? Hear what? There's another one. Another monster. What? Both nuns looks at the newspaper. Okay, that's weird. What's that all about? McIntyre hands Kamajo a newspaper that was sitting next to him. I believe they are referring to what is going on around Japan. The boy and Otinus looks at the newspaper. Immediately, they see the headline on the front page with the picture of the kaiju rising out of the Suez Canal on it. A giant kaiju looms in the Pacific. Board of Director Mifune informs Academy City and the world that a prehistoric monster named Godzilla has been the one responsible for the incidents in the Indian Ocean all the way to Okinawa. That's Gojira? He looks different than what the book displayed him as. Reality can differ from what it is believed. Well, at least we're dealing with one kaiju right now. Thankfully. Glad that the railgun is doing what I told her to do. But what? She did not mention about its indestructible hide. Yeah, but you never mentioned that. I did not have to. The regeneration factor should have given her that idea to begin with. What if it isn't true? The same thing I told Madame Misaka. Believe in what you want to believe, but you know it will be untrue in the end. He stands up from the bench with his eyes closed. But I suppose they are going to have to find out the hard way then. Now, if you need me, I will be escorting the civilians out of Belfast. He walks away from Kamajo and Otinus as the two looks back at the image of Godzilla on the front page. Throughout the morning, news of Godzilla's existence spreads far and wide. All of the sorcerers are now aware of a new monster. But thankfully, he is on the other side of the world and the Japanese government and Academy City are dealing with him. However, there is one who knew of his existence beforehand. 11 o'clock a.m. Standing on the roof of the cathedral with the cold wind blowing on their hair and clothing, Kanzaki and Francis stares out into the distance. So the secret is out, huh? It was only a matter of time. Imagine if he remained a secret. That would be very difficult, considering the size of him. You summoned me on top of the roof for what exactly? Sensei? Be honest with me. You're scared of Bagan coming back, are you? He raises his eyebrow at her question. I am not denying it. Then again, who is not at this point? Look, regardless of what happens next, just know that you are never alone. Kaori turns her head to him. Then, her and McIntyre's attention turns to what is going on down below. A group of 12 soldiers are chasing Kamajo for cutting in front of a line to eat lunch. What did he do this time? Breaking into the queue. Guess I have to go save him. He jumps from the roof to the ground. Kanzaki remains and turns back to Divis behind her. A shaking feeling that the beast within is waiting to be awakened once again causes her to shiver. 12 o'clock p.m. Standing beside a building, Kamajo is on the phone with Makoto Misaka, but Oden is listening in. So, it's being taken care of right now? Yep. I thought it would take like an ice age than that, but I'm not complaining. You kinda wish it was you, right? He does not get an immediate response. Suddenly, a thought comes to his mind. Oh, how are you holding up with your loss? Honestly, I'm still processing it. Hey, don't rush it. Take your time. Will do. So, how are things going on your end? Ooh, that doesn't sound good. Sorry. I'm trying so hard not to become unhinged right now.
Fucking McIntyre!
Why? What did he do?
He wants me to ride in a British tank. What kind of bullshit is this?
Isn't this coming from the same guy who rode on a giant cross, a cargo plane, and a space rocket?
That's not the point. I'm trying to save Index, not die while doing it. Ugh, my rotten luck.
Wow, calm down. From what I heard, the British Challenger 2 is much more safer than the Japanese Type 90. Did you make that up?
Yeah, I did.
Not funny. But seriously, don't die. Don't die, Dielt. I don't know German, but I somehow know what that means. But, yeah. Stay safe out there. Will do, Kamajo. See ya. The call ends, but Tomo realizes something. Huh. That's weird. What is? She addressed me by my last name. That's a first. Is that jealousy?
No. Oh my god, you're actually jealous. Ow. Jeez.
On all fronts surrounding Belfast, many of the soldiers and sorcerers are in their positions. The counteroffensive is set to go off at dawn. Many take this opportunity to rest, only for a limited amount of time. In Paisley Park, 1 mile from the cliffs of Divis, soldiers of the 34th Tank Division are sitting inside of military tents. Half are on patrol, including Kazaki as well as Orel and Marshall. Inside one of the tents, Kamijo is laying on his back with his hands behind his head, still awake. Are you having trouble sleeping? Kamijo is caught off guard by McIntyre's voice. No, I'm not. It's just, I'm worried about this whole thing. Are you sure we can pull this off? Never have doubt in your capabilities, and having uncertainty will lead you to less self-confidence. Those are the exact words I told Kiori. The boy turns his head to the right, locking his eyes with Francis. Say, what was it like teaching Kazaki? I will be honest with you. She was a massive headache. Each time that she failed, I made sure that her errors were shown. I cannot imagine what it was like living with Madame Montgomery. Terrible. All the memories of living with Index rushes through his mind. The feeding, the complaining, and many others. Jeez, if only you knew. I have a feeling that it was not pleasant, judging by that response. Both males takes in a deep breath. Hey, how come you can't make more than a few portals? Unfortunately, I have limits when it comes to that. I can only create 5 portals at a time. Once all 5 are used, I cannot make another for 24 hours. If I tried to make another, it would put too much strain on my body and I would collapse. Use all 5 at once, the same result. Seriously? Unfortunately, yes. Jeez. So, how long has it been since you created your last portal? 19 hours. But I am willing to wait, even if the fate of the British Isles hangs in the balance. Such a heavy statement weighs in on Kamijo. Indeed, even when the two have grievances with Xanoff, the fate of their futures does hang over everyone's heads. Do not worry, I will make sure that Montgomery returns to you, and I'll get to punch Xanoff to the ground. I told you once before, get in line. If you can actually do that. What the hell's that supposed to mean? You are 15 years old, and yet you cannot even get the basic idea of not getting into a queue for a lunch bar. Hey, it was my bad luck, alright? Give me a break. Fortune and misfortune has nothing to do with it. I think it was the case of you being an idiot. Amen. I'd like to see you with this right hand. That is not going to happen. God damn it, I forgot you can understand me. The two finally turns and goes to sleep. Within the Presbyterian Church in the small village of Dundrod, outside of Belfast, the chiefs of staff for the Celtic Army, Navy, and Air Force are having a meeting. Jonathan Xanoff is with these men, standing in the nave with a map of Belfast on the table. General MacDonald, what is the status? Army Chief of Staff General Alex MacDonald points to the battle line. Lieutenant General Kennedy and Major General Hartford inform me that there are 2 brigades, 2 battalions, and 1 armored division. Status on the Vultures. 6 are being loaded, and they are about to take off from the airfield. Good. For the love of Bagan, Admiral, where is your fleet? Would you relax? They're still heading. The 10th Battle Group will encounter Force J before 5:30. And your carriers? The Dublin and Cork are heading east. The others are in repair. And as far as artillery, they're on standby, yes? Yes, sir. The 17th, 20th, 104th, and 122nd Artillery Divisions are loaded and are on standby. I am not just talking about on land. There are no defenses from sea attacks. Oh, I see. You want the fleet to join in. Yes, indeed. Admiral Kinsey McMahon should be arriving off Belfast in 1 hour. Her brother, Samuel, will join her afterwards. But I'm worried about her new ships. Why? Those ships are too new, and I'm afraid that they'll be destroyed by the Royal Navy. You read the reports, have you not? Those ships only sustain minor damages against the British destroyers. So, here is what you should do. Split 10th Battle Group into 2. 2 capital ships, 1 cruiser, and 2 destroyers each. I'll send that order right away. All that's left are the ground forces. Any suggestions, sir? When the NIA forces are weak enough and Bagan is awakened, I will send up a flare. That will be your signal to send in all of the soldiers into the city. But I must head to Divis alone in order to wake our lord from slumber. But isn't that dangerous, sir? Xanov looks at his general. I know you have concerns for me, but I am very capable of handling it. Bagan and I do have history. You're not the only one who has history with it. Xanov turns around and stares at Index, in her white robes, on her knees, and her arms and legs tied, who stares back at him with a furious look on her face. His eyes starts from her to the empty plate beside her. Of course. And it is nice to see that your whale-sized stomach would not resist the food made by our magnificent chefs from Dublin. Well, I have to admit that the food was really good, but do you expect me to take it as some sort of apology for what you did to me? No, I do not. I knew from the moment I kicked you that forgiveness was out of the question. He walks away from the table to her sitting near the altar. Yeah, because me getting kicked in the face was a way to fulfill a promise. What is done, and be thankful that you did not get a concussion or lose a tooth. He stops in front of her and sits down cross-legged. I should not explain why you are here. No, you shouldn't, because I know why. But you should know if you read one page of any of the prohibited books, my brain will explode. Yes, I am very aware. However, it seems that the church never told you. Tell me what? 25% of the books do not belong to the church and the former magic gods, but they belong to me and Bagan. Index turns from angry to stunned almost instantly. You're lying. You're lying. You have not heard a lie from me once, Elizabeth. Why would I lie now? So believe me when I say this. He reaches and places his right hand on her head. I will remain intact. The doors opens and two soldiers walks inside with a child in between them. Mr. President, this little boy would like to see you. I am busy at the moment. Sir, he lives in this village. Xanov turns his head back. He removes his hand from Index's head and stands up to his feet. He walks down the nave and past the chiefs of staff. He stops and kneels down in front of the boy. Hello, young man. What is your name? Darren. What are you doing here, Darren? This place is not safe. I wanted to see if you can help me. Well, what can I help you with? Well, I was wondering if the stories about you and the Celtic army doing horrible things to all of the communities in Northern Ireland, horrible. I even heard that you're called the Black Death. Are they true? The Black Death name? Yes. And I am not denying what the army and I had done, but in truth, we were bullied first. You were? Oh yes. There have been misinformation spreading by the Catholic and Protestant churches. Even they themselves are trying to buy their sins away. The chief of staff scoffs and spits in different directions in disgust, while Index rolls her eyes. And we did not come to Northern Ireland for nothing. Most of the people here asked to be part of the Celtic Republic of Ireland. They pledged their loyalty to Lord Bagan and country. Peace, hope, and prosperity for all. The chiefs chants in Gaelic, peace, hope, and prosperity for Lord Bagan. Index can only sit in horrified shock. Wow. But I'm not sure if I'm going to fit in, given my Jewish heritage. Oh, there is no need to worry. We offer opportunities to all ethnicities and backgrounds. I mean, my goodness, my daughter is Jewish. Darren smiles with relief. Now, I believe it is time for us to go to work. You head home now and tell your family the good news. Darren nods his head in excitement. Jonathan waves as the boy walks out of the church. The doors closes, and he stands back up. Of all of the things that I've seen, you intentionally lead people into this false religion and these false promises. Zenov's smile fades and turns back, staring at the English nun. Who said the promises I make are false and empty? That is how Ethan Rosenthal met his end. And we do not treat an ethnicity and group of people like they are the bane of our existence. I've never thought about those kinds of things. That is true, but the others have that mindset. He walks back to her, but he does not sit back down. I forgot to mention this, but you may have noticed that there have been no rescue attempt. Thanks to my 1 mile telepathic bubble, I am able to block that robe since it acts as a tracking device. Johnny, please, don't do this. Jonathan is taken aback a little when she addresses him by his real name, but his only answer is a sigh. I understand your concern, but a promise is a promise. You know that. Now then, he turns his attention away from her and stares at his chiefs of staff. Gentlemen, once Force J is destroyed, our final offensive shall begin.
Yes, sir.
A heavy fog lifts from the calm waters of the Irish Sea. The calm waters, however, are interrupted by ships of Force J of the British Royal Navy. The 5 Type 45 King-class destroyers, HMS King, Titan, Glory, Courage, and Grand, with 190 sailors each, and 4 Type 23 Duke-class frigates, HMS Norfolk, Suffolk, Duke, and Manson, with 185 sailors each, surrounds the lead ship of Force J and the pride of the Royal Navy, the Admiral-class aircraft carrier HMS Hood. The 210-meter-long, 65-meter-high, 36-meter-high, 65,000-ton, 680-sailor-strong carrier and the other ships is traveling at 32 knots. Its flight deck is bustling with activity. 18 Harrier GR-7s and GR-9s are being primed and ready to take off for the upcoming counteroffensive. The thick fog is giving way as the ships continue to head north. On board the Hood, Captain Bennett Kerr and Vice Admiral Vincent Holland walk on the bridge and stare out into the sea ahead of the force. We should be near Belfast in no time. I don't know about this, sir. We've been getting reports of ships disappearing, and I don't feel safe out here. Last I heard, the Celtic Navy are having their ships either in repairs or scouting far from home. All right. Shall we send up 3 Harriers? Not yet. He walks over to the radio operator. Seaman Jackson, get in contact with Norfolk and Suffolk, and ask them if there are any enemy ships up ahead. Yes, sir. He gets on the radio and turns to a frequency. Norfolk and Suffolk, this is the Hood. Status report, over.
Everything is clear. No sign of the enemy. The skies are clear, and it seems the sun is coming up.
Holland breathes a sigh of relief. All right. Send out our best pilots. Yes, sir. Moments later, 3 Harriers, piloted by Theodore Briggs, Abraham Tilburn, and Richard James Dundas respectively, are ordered to take off from the flight deck. Unlike the American carriers, where jets are launched via catapults, the 2 first Harriers gain speed from the stern and takes off of the bow. The third, piloted by Briggs, waits for the signalman to give him the go. He looks off to the right and sees the destroyer Glory 80 yards away from the carrier. Suddenly, a bright orange flash flickers in the fog beside it. It briefly silhouettes something for a split second. What the? The Glory suddenly explodes into a fiery inferno.
What the hell?
Those within the bridge and the other ship's crews seize the exploding destroyer. Briggs' Harrier accelerates and finally takes off. He and his colleagues in the skies circles back around to Force J. As they approach, beginning the survey of the sinking destroyer, another flash within the fog lights up, while on the other side, the Courage explodes, splitting in half.
Force J, get out of there! It's an ambush!
As the message is received to the other ships, the Titan and Manson explodes almost simultaneously. More lights flickers in the fog, both starboard and port. The Duke and Grand explodes. The Norfolk, Suffolk, and the carrier Hood are all that remains. The crews are called to their battle stations. But as they do not know what or who is attacking them. The fog on all sides finally lifts. As it does, 2 enemy ships are revealed. But it is not what the British are expecting. Oh my God. They're battleships. The rumors are true. Designed after the Revenge-class super dreadnoughts, the 45,000-ton, 240-meter-long, 32-meter-high Celtic Irish battleships, Collins and Watson, are fired upon by the Norfolk and Suffolk's 8-inch cannons. The Harriers drops their 2 500-pound bombs each on the complex superstructure. All of the projectiles and bombs hit their targets. But when the smoke clears, the ships remain intact. No damage, no scratch. What the hell? How are they? The battleship's 8-inch auxiliary cannons fires armor-piercing shells. The Norfolk and Suffolk are pierced, and their ammunition are hit. Both ships explode into catastrophic infernos and start sinking 7 seconds later. With the carrier Hood all alone and sandwiched in between the Collins and Watson to their starboard and port, the twin-mounted 16-inch guns of the battleships turns and aims them at the carrier. The crew on board the carrier becomes terrified. At the same time, more of the fog lifts and reveals the battleship's escorts, the cruisers Fitzgerald and Burton, and the destroyers Florence, Lally, Nyland, and Dillon. They surround the lone carrier.
HMS Hood, this is Captain Mackenzie of Battle Group 8. We are giving you the opportunity to leave the area and return to your port. If you do not comply or answer, we will neutralize the ship and all on board.
In the bridge of the Hood, Holland and Kerr look at each other and at their crew. Gentlemen, it's been an honor. Jackson, give me the radio. He hands the Vice Admiral the radio speaker. Captain, this is Vice Admiral Holland. We are not going anywhere. And you can kiss my ass. Understood. All guns, fire full broadside. The ship and the crew will go down braver than most. The 16-inch, 50 caliber cannons of the battleships fires a full broadside salvo of armor-piercing timed shells and penetrates through the armor slightly above the waterline on the hood's port and starboard. The main components, the engine room, ammo storages, and fuel depots are hit. Throughout the carrier, time freezes for a split second. In their Harriers, the pilots can only watch. Suddenly, from stern to bow and bottom to top, the mightiest and most beautiful ship in the Royal Navy, the HMS Hood, erupts in a gargantuan explosion. Captains Mackenzie and Ramsey McKinley turns away from the exploding carrier. Corporal, send a message to base. Tell them the Force J has been neutralized. Aye, aye, Captain. 5:40 a.m. Zanov, standing on a field near a small road close to the southeast cliff of Divis, is on the phone. His eyes are fixated on the city while speaking into it. Force J is eliminated? Good. Is everyone in position? Very good. Wait for the flare. He closes his phone and puts it in his pocket. His eyes veers away from the city to index on her knees. It is almost time. I'm begging you, Jonathan. If you were in the position that I'm in, would you still go through with it? Well, thankfully, you're not calling me after disease, though the others are not going to stop. And I had that thought cross my mind before I arrived in Academy City, and I do understand that once Bagan is awakened, you will be first on his list of revenge. But he pulls out a red flare gun from his left pocket. My mind has not changed, and we have gotten this far, so the back door, is already shut. 10,000 meters above heat bridges, 6 B-84 Vulture bombers are flying at 350 miles per hour. Departed from Laksev Airport in northern Norway, they are loaded with nothing but 10 tallboy bombs each. A message comes through their radio with only 2 words. Primo Victoria. 5:45 a.m. The sun is starting to rise. Kamajo, McIntyre, and Otinus are awakened by the sound of their tent zipper opening. They sit up and see Lance Corporal Harold Shepard entering. Harry? Is the counteroffensive about to begin? Sorry to wake you, but High Command wanted me to deliver a message to you. Well, it better be good. Unfortunately, it's not. HMS Hood and Force J have been ambushed along the Irish Sea. They're gone. The 3 becomes more alert and they get to their knees. An entire naval force gone? How? Well, I don't know how to word this, but my word, this is not the time to become tongue-tied. Out with it! The Admiralty has gotten word from the Hood's 3 surviving pilots that they witnessed Force J's destruction by 2 Irish battleships, 2 cruisers, and 4 destroyers. The 3 become shocked at the news. Thomas stares at Francis, eyes widened. Wait, didn't you say that? I did, but I never thought it would be true. Also, I thought no one uses battleships anymore. The American still has the Iowa class in service, but half of them are in the Pacific, and the other half are close to the East Coast. We have nothing. Kamajo nervously brushes his spiky hair back. So, what now? Sensei! The calling of his pupil gets McIntyre's attention. He crawls out of the tent with Kamajo, Otinus, and Shepard following. Standing up, they rush to her, Orwell, and Marshall 5 yards away. What is it? He stops and turns his head to the left. The others do the same. A red flare is flying up into the air before stopping at 100 meters up. What is that? That could be where Index is. And the ritual of reawakening Bagan is about to begin. No. Something before that. Wait, what? An explosion erupts behind him, Francis, William, and Kaori, launching them off of their feet. Far away, the blast of the explosion wakes up everyone in many sections of the city. What was that? Her and everyone's question is answered the moment they see the rising smoke. Otinus falls off Kamajo but lands on her feet. The group sits up and looks behind them. A massive hole sits where Shepard used to be. The arm and body parts falls back down to the ground. Oh my God! He stands up and holds his mouth shut, preventing himself from vomiting. His ears are ringing from the sound of the blast. Seconds goes by, and his hearing comes back, right as he and everyone else hears faint booms in all directions. It is the beginning of the final artillery bombardment. An explosion erupts at the docks, then another in the city center. A massive explosive chain erupts in multiple areas, multiple buildings, and on the roads, McIntyre digs Gaia into the ground, and the ground itself splits open.
All of you, into the trench! Move!
Holderness jumps into Camacho's shoulders as he and everyone else jumps into the trench. Francis creates a 50-foot wide roof over the trench and sits in place. All of the soldiers and sorcerers gets up from their slumber and jumps into a trench or manhole in the ground. 6 to 19 miles away from the battle line on all fronts, the 205mm howitzers and tactical rockets of the 17th, 20th, 104th, and 122nd Artillery Divisions are firing high-explosive shells and rockets respectively. The howling on the latter is what they are most famous for. At the same time, 10 miles away from the bay, the other two Celtic battleships, Benson and Richard, ironically resembling the British Revenge-class super dreadnoughts, fires high-explosive shells from their two twin-mounted 16-inch and 8-inch auxiliary guns at the city in a non-stop double salvo. Their escort ships, 2 Mike-class cruisers and 4 Ryan-class destroyers, are joining in on the capital ships. Camacho, laying on his stomach and covering his head, screams out of frustration. He was just about to come back to his senses and was gaining his hearing back. And now, he and the others are going through what many soldiers went through on the Western Front in World War I 90 years prior. The constant, continuous, popcorn-like explosions with no end in sight.
Enough! I swear, if I survive this, I'm going straight for you!
Back near the cliff near Divis and the Black Mountain, Zenov raises his right eyebrow. Well, let us hope that you can actually survive. Index, watching the bombardment of Belfast, is in stunned horror. And now, let us begin. He reaches his hand out and touches her forehead. Empty. The environment around the two becomes a blur. It slowly disappears along with the sound of distant explosions, then turns into a void filled with hundreds of thousands of books floating and circling around them. Zenov removes his hand from her and looks around. My. I wonder which are mines and Bagan's.
Damn it. I'm too late.
Zenov's eyes starts to the many of the books floating past him. He does not touch any of them but continues to look, like a person inside of a library searching for a perfect book to read. He grabs one and opens it. His eyes move so fast as the pages flips. Then, he lets go of it. That was not it, but I will keep that in mind.
What the?
Outside of the void, with Zenov's eyes closed and his hand on her head, Index cannot believe what she is witnessing.
He just skimmed through the Book of Resurrection and nothing happened to him.
Zenov can hear Camacho's thoughts screaming, fuck you, Zenov. Well, that was rude. Anyway, he grabs another book and opens it. Ah, here is mine. His eyes starts through the words and unknown words as the pages turns. Suddenly, everything goes silent after 5 minutes of the bombardment. Those within the city looks around, believing it to be over. Wait, did they finally stop? In the park, McIntyre taps the roof and makes an opening. He and Camacho crawls out and looks around. Something catches the former's ears. He looks up and stares at the full moon. The 6 B-84 vultures are silhouetted against it and the light. If only that was the case, Montgomery.
It is not over yet. Get back in and stay down!
The two jumps back into the trench with Francis creating another roof. Just as everyone was beginning to exit the trenches and manholes, the 5-ton tall boys smashes into the earth. 1 second after each hits the ground, they explode with the yield of 12,000 pounds. Large amounts of dirt, grass, debris from businesses and homes, and even bodies flies up thousands of feet into the sky. 5 of Ignatius' battle nuns are incinerated into nothing but bloody mists. 15 members of the Amoxa are killed by one of the blasts. Their screams are heard, but they are replaced by silence. 50 yards from the trench in Paisley Park, 2 tall boys touches down and explodes. 15 Challenger 2s are destroyed immediately by the first. The second tall boy explodes. McIntyre quickly blocks the shockwave, but the dust hits him and the others around him. Despite feeling as though he has gotten hit in the stomach, the future Prime Minister remains on his feet. As the tall boy lands and explodes, the B-84 turns and veers away from the city. 12 seconds pass. All of the remaining 25,000 soldiers, surviving sorcerers and Camacho, crawls out of the manholes and trenches. They all examine the damages. It is beyond devastating. Most of the buildings are gone thanks to the land and sea artillery and bombs from above. Agnese turns away and vomits after spotting what was left of her sisters who were caught in the crossfire. Angeline comforts her as best as she can. Camacho trembles with fear as he, McIntyre, Kinzaki, Orel, and Marshall looks around him. Ultinus slaps his right cheek.
Get a hold of yourself!
Francis, do not. Camacho, get to one of the Challenger 2s. Kaori, Orel, Marshall, stay close behind us. The Saints unsheathe their swords. The boy looks to the 3 remaining tanks, 154, 155, and 156 of the 34th Tank Division. He nods at Francis, and the 2 runs to them. They come up to 155. McIntyre gives Kamajo a boost, getting up as the Challenger's engines turns on. Toma glances to the cliff of Divis. The Celtics 14th Armored Cavalry Battalion and 1st Cavalry Division are advancing. The Saints approaches the tanks on all sides. The tank commander of Challenger 155 opens the hatch, pops out, and sees the boy on his vehicle.
What the bloody hell are you doing? Colonel, this is the boy I was talking about. What happened to my loader?
He's dead.
Damn it!
Right, looks like we're gonna have to deal without a loader. He looks over to the rack on the side of the turret. He crawls, grabs a scrim-covered Virtus helmet and body armor vest, and tosses it to Toma.
Here, put these on. I'm not letting you handle the 120mm, so I'll be handling the loading. You just sit tight. Understood? Yes, sir. All right. To the hatch. Go!
Otinus jumps into Kamajo's jacket pocket as the boy jumps inside of the tank. He looks at his surroundings as Colonel Hunter jumps back in, closing the hatch above him. He finds the different ammo types of the 120mm.
Holy shit! I'm gonna fucking die!
Hunter digs into his pockets, pulls out a pair of earplugs, grabs a set of headphones, and hands them to the boy.
Here, they'll protect your hearing.
Without any hesitation, Toma puts in the earplugs and puts on the headphones. He can hear less, but can still hear muffled sounds and people talking on the radio. Hunter opens a slide behind the boy, grabs an armor-piercing fin-stabilized sabot, and puts it inside the breech.
Gun loaded! Systems are green. Driver, follow the lead tank. Yes, sir.
Hunter looks through the commander's side. Outside, the Saints and McIntyre stands around the 3 tanks, ready to protect them. The lead tank, 154, drives forward, with the other 2 following suit. All 3 travels at 40 miles per hour. All along the front, everyone comes back to reality. All of the Celtic groups are advancing towards the front lines. The final battle of the Irish Civil War begins. The Battle of Belfast begins. Ignace succumbs to her uncontrollable rage. Lucia? My wand. Now! As the British Streltsy Brigade charges to face the 9th Armored Cavalry Division, Sister Lucia tosses the Lotus Wand to Ignace. She catches it as it spreads its wings like a flower. She and her battle nun spots the first row of cavalry horsemen with their swords out. Ignace takes out a knife. We will make sure that these heretics pay for their sins. She scratches the base of the staff. Invisible cutting attack slices through the legs of the horses. The riders falls, and the same cutting attack slices through their necks, killing them. She puts her knife away and slams the staff down on the hard concrete. 1 second later, pockets of air smashes onto another group of horsemen, launching them off of their horses.
Leave no traitor alive! Avenge our fallen sisters!
The nuns makes a battle cry, and with fixed spears, they charge at the incoming attackers. To the southeast, Stout Magnus snaps his fingers, flinging fire ahead. Spearhead conjures a water rope and hits the fire, creating a wall of steam. Blackball creates a wall of dirt, and Elvis uses her wind. Meanwhile, Ellis is getting bombarded with bullets with his master Cromwell behind it. It swings his fist down, knocking away and killing 15 Celtic soldiers. Innocentius is summoned and attacks the horsemen. To the southwest, New Light and Sasha Khrushchev with the 15th Infantry Battalion engages the 88th Infantry Regiment. Sasha swings her massive bone saw, cutting through Celtic soldiers with ease. To the northwest, Tantamia slams his sword in the dirt, creating a shockwave, killing 14 Crusaders of the 77th Crusader Regiment. Both sides mix battle cries as they engage into a massive sword fight. To the west, what remains of the 34th Tank Division continues to advance down the road, heading for the Cliff of Divis. Near the cliffs themselves, Index can hear the battle from a distance. You have experienced war before, but not close in person. I never wanted to experience war. But you are now. Ah, here they are, Bagan's powers. Still within the void, he grabs the books on Bagan itself. Back on the battlefield, McIntyre and Kanzaki comes to a corner of Valico Martin and Westway Drive. They peek the corner and spots 2 Leopard 2A4s. You know what to do.
Yes, sir.
She leaps, dashes, and slams to the first Leopard, and McIntyre damages the second's cannon barrel. The Challengers comes to the corner, and the Commanders tanks the remaining Leopard. Challengers 154, 155, and 156 fires the DM-13 sable shells at the side and front, destroying it. Kamajo feels the shockwave through his body as the cannon fires.
Oh, holy shit! To think that I'm risking my life for a nun! I told you it was loud. None of Sable. Loaded. Driver, continue forward.
Up ahead, a Leopard 2A4 fires its 120mm cannon. The Sabo hits Challenger 154's left track. A second Leopard, behind the building, fires at the engine, immobilizing it. Orel slices through the first leopard with his greatsword Escalon, while the Knight Leader Marshall slices through the other with his hunting sword. The two remaining challengers continue to head down Belfast Road, with the Saints and McIntyre following close by. Groups of Celtic Crusaders runs up to the tanks with anti-tank rockets. They are cut off and killed by Kenzaki before they get to fire, while the others are gunned down by the tank's coaxial chain guns. They continue towards the Cliffs of Divis, with Challenger 156 taking the lead. Sitting on the advantage way, a single Leopard 2A5 lies and waits for Challenger 156 to come into his crosshairs. Then, it fires its armor-piercing saber. It penetrates through the ammo storage and explodes from within, killing all 4 of the tank crew. Kamajo, inside of 155, takes off the headset, trying not to hear the horrific, distorted screams from 156. As the tank continues taking out the Leopard, Hunter looks at the boy, holding his ears. He grabs his arm, making him look at him. Look, listen, I know how you feel. Please tell me this thing has an escape hatch or something? It's beside the gunner. It'll take you under the tank and outside. He looks through the commander's sight. He spots a Leopard 2A5 450 yards away. He takes in a deep breath. Listen, kid. This tank isn't going to last long. I'm going to load the saber round. When the tank stops and fires, that's your cue to slip through the hatch.
What about you guys?
Don't worry about us. Just get your friend back. Got it? Kamajo and Othanis realizes the man knows that this tank's fate is sealed. The Challenger gets closer to an open area. The tank stops, the cannon fires, and the boy, with Othanis holding on tight, crawls to the hatch and slips through. His body hits the concrete and the tank drives away. The saber round it fired missed only 12 inches away. Mates, I'll see you on the other side. At a distance of 378 yards away, the Celtic Leopard 2A5 fires its saber round. The saber penetrates through the armor rack. Seconds later, the tank explodes with its turret flying up in the air. McIntyre and Kenzaki attends to Kamajo and Othanis. You're in one piece. I know what happened. The two picks up the boy and former magic god. They hear the sound of hooves getting louder. Kenzaki turns around and spots a horseman with a spear in hand. She parries the spear and slices the man's head off. Orel and Marshall stops the horse with their bare strength. I believe this horse will be fitting. Kamajo shakes his head, snapping himself out of a headspace. Right. Back near the Cliffs of Divis, Xenoff exits the void, opens his eyes, and removes his hand from Index's head. There we are. See? I am still in one piece. Index's head lifts. Her eyes look as if they are robotic. Warning! An intruder has breached and stolen the grimoires. John's pen activated. A magic circle appears in front of her face. You really need training for controlling that. From a distance, Kamajo and the others spots a white laser shooting from near the cliffs. John's pen? That means she is there. I cannot make another portal for another 80 seconds. On a horse, move! Toma mounts on the horse, kicks the animal, and they continue to head to the Nun and Xenos positions. Francis, 60 seconds, keep going! Hey, Kamajo, if it's too late, I have an idea. The group runs along the grass up the hill.
What is it? Do you remember what I did to you outside of Buckingham Palace?
A memory comes to his mind. Yes, I do. When McIntyre summons a portal, I'll launch you into it. If you can manage to get to the correct area. Also, the future Prime Minister digs Gaia into the ground, digs it out, and throws a boulder at the Leopard 2A5's barrel. Kenzaki dashes forward and slices through the tank's armor easily. Marshall kills a squad of Celtic soldiers, and the group continues on. Closing in at 360 yards, the white laser from Index turns a full 360 degrees, hitting the Cliffs of Divis and coming towards them. Kamajo jumps off of the horse and plants himself on the ground. The laser hits the source, incinerating the animal. 100 yards away, they refuse to stop. Francis, 20 seconds! William, right! As Francis counts down, and as Jonathan dodges the white laser, Kamajo jumps on the flat-facing Great Sword Escalon. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. He slices through the air and a portal is created. In between Index and Xenoff, a portal opens. Go! Orel swings his sword, launching the 15-year-old into the portal. Kamajo flies out and touches Index's head, canceling John's pen and the laser at once. He then catches her and the two tumbles and rolls on the ground. They come to a stop. Toma opens his eyes and looks at Index in his arms. He sits up and gently shakes her. Index! Index! Her eyes opens, revealing her green pupils. Seeing Kamajo in front of her and the sun rising behind the hill causes her to smile. Toma, where in God's name have you been? I had to get some help. Ahem. I helped too? Jeez. The nun breathes a sigh of relief, but a realization dawns on her. Toma, about Xenoff, don't worry. I'm dealing with him right now. The two stand to their feet and they stare at Xenoff. McIntyre and Kinzaki has their swords drawn on his neck. I told you to get in line, boy. Madam Montgomery, are you still in one piece? Master McIntyre. Yes, I'm fine, but... Don't worry, we'll have this man detained. Xenoff, you have failed your promise and your objective. It is over. Call up your army, return to the border, or they will be annihilated. And I will be the one to end you. Xenoff looks at his brother with a deadpan look. Kamajo and Index stares above their heads. The Saints looks up and spots the white, glowing dragon's breath feathers, the same ones that erased Toma's original memories. He and the nun are thankfully away from it. The Saints jumps out of the way, but the brothers remains. Sensei, move away from them! One lands on Xenoff's head, and another lands on McIntyre's shoulder. Oh no. First Kamajo, and now my own teacher. The brothers brushes the feathers away, with nothing affecting them. Like I said, it is over. Wait, what? They're fine? Xenoff shakes his head and sighs. It would appear that you have forgotten after all. I told you I never forgot. And yet, you have not proven that to me. It is no wonder that Sister Angela is still consumed by its curse. What are you talking about? All the more confirmation that you have forgotten. Also, I must congratulate you, Imagine Breaker, for unintentionally saving my life. He digs into his pocket. But please, let Madame Montgomery finish her sentence. She will be able to tell you what you have actually done. Kamajo, Oldinus, McIntyre, Kinzaki, Orwell, and Marshall puts their attention onto the nun. She looks down on the ground with utter defeat. He touched some of the books. He read through them, and they did nothing to him. The Saints, former Magic God, and Imagine Breaker are stunned, while McIntyre grows concerned and less stunned. Elizabeth, if what you say is true, then that means you have not stopped the awakening, but only prolonged it. And if Kamajo was really intending to go after me, then he obviously failed. Jonathan pulls out a necklace that was hidden within his suit. McIntyre looks at it and immediately becomes shocked. On the necklace is a small pendant. Xenoff snaps it off with his mouth and swallows it. Where did you get that Tuyon? I saved it when we came here. If only Sister Angela knew. Xenoph's body pulses. A shockwave erupts from him, knocking everyone around him off of their feet. McIntyre gets up immediately, followed by the others. A plume of white smoke covers the Irish leader. Jonathan walks out of the smoke, revealing his pitch-black hair turning into bright brown and parts of his skin being covered in armored-like plates. He looks at his arms and clenches his fist. All of the memories of our golden age are coming back. A power that I have not felt in so long. Who says close to 5,000 years was a long time? He stares at his brother. You said it is over, yes? Well, unfortunately, it does not end until our Lord says it is. He brings out a walkie-talkie and turns it on. All forces, Operation King's Gambit is a go. Commence. A tremor shakes the ground. Francis turns to Kamajo and Index. You two, run! Kaori, go with them! Sensing the danger, Kamajo and Index realizes what is about to happen. They run past Xenoff with Kinzaki following them. McIntyre faces his brother, while Orel and Marshall faces the cliffs. The tremor travels through the ground and throughout Belfast. Let us hope that they can actually escape, because our Lord has been waiting to meet her again. Part of the cliff explodes. Another part explodes, followed by another. Explosive chains erupts up and down the cliff. Debris and rocks slides down in a landslide. Every soldier and sorcerer looks to the cliffs of Divis. To the latter, it is a sign that they have failed. But for the former, it is a sign that they have succeeded. McIntyre clears all of them of rocks and boulders, then focuses back on his brother. Oh, come now. You should be proud. At least the Imagine Breaker will be able to witness, in all of his glory, Lord Bagan. A massive four-clawed foot stomps on the ground, followed by another. A dragon-like head with a horn on its snout and two curved horns on its head reveals itself. On a small hill, Kamajo, Index, and Kenzaki turns around, and immediately shock and fear takes over their emotions.
The 125-meter kaiju reveals its armor-covered brown body. It opens its eyes, revealing the orange snake-like pupils. It shakes the boulders and dust from its body and stegosaur-like sharp spikes, and shakes its head.
It places its three-fingered hand on the side of the cliff and clenches the other.
Is that?
It is. Bagan. All throughout the city of Belfast, everyone sees the beast. The Celtics cheer while the others are reliving their greatest nightmare. Bagan, with the sun still rising, roars, deafening those around it. It looks down at what is near it. Orwell and Marshall stands fast. McIntyre does not look behind him, and Zenoff kneels down to one knee. My lord, it is an honor and a blessing to see your awakening. It has been so long since the last time you have graced us with your presence. The beast growls with gratitude, then growls with anger. My lord, the one who trapped you in your prison is here and is attempting to escape. She and her carrier are fleeing as we speak. If you wish to seek your vengeance upon her, then we will aid you on your quest. Bagan turns its head to the left. Its eyes spots Kamajo, Index, Ultinus, and Kenzaki. Its anger grows, then it roars.
Change of plan. Orwell, Marshall, storm the two of them. I will get them out of here.
The two nods. The Saints leaps up into the air and swings their swords towards Bagan's face. Bagan flings the two away, but the two stops himself in midair. They charge at the beast, and once again deflects their weapons with its horn. Marshall unleashes a slashing attack at its chest, but as they clash, all of them have no effect.
Looks like we have to slow it down. Easier said than done, Alexander.
A knee to the man's head catches the Knight Leader off guard. Zenov grabs his legs as he descends back to the ground and slams him. He jumps back up and kicks Orwell away, even when the mercenary blocks the kick with his sword. With the Saints distracted, Bagan rushes to Kamajo, Ultinus, Index, and Kenzaki. McIntyre reaches them, creates a portal, and pushes the four through. Bagan stops in his tracks and looks towards the city of Belfast. Its eagle sight spots them coming out of the portal in the city center. A pair of bat-like wings materializes from the membrane in the fins on its back. It takes flight and heads for the city. Within Belfast, as the five gets back to their feet, Index screams at the top of her lungs at the sight of Bagan heading towards them. Kenzaki grips her sword and leaps forward. She swings her sword, hitting Bagan's nose horn, but stopping it in its tracks.
I'll hold it off! Get to the docks!
McIntyre digs Gaia into the ground and creates a massive bulge. Like a vehicle, he drives in on the road, taking Kamajo, Index, and Ultinus with him. As Bagan and Kenzaki are locked in the duel, the sorcerers, who have regrouped near City Hall, seize the four and humps into the moving concrete. Meanwhile, the assigned units of the Celtic army are advancing into the city of Belfast. Back near the cliffs, both Orwell and the Knight Leader Marshall are having a hard time landing a hit on Zenoff. A few times they did, his skin remains intact and he is unfazed. Well, gentlemen, I believe this is going to be a farewell for now. But remember this, we will resume our activity in 24 hours. He grabs both of the Saints' necks. Now, to quote every homeowner in this world, get off of my property. He spins and throws the two away from the area. At 6:05 a.m., all of the sorcerers, Kamajo, and McIntyre arrives at the end of a dock. The bulge disappears and everyone lands on the ground. Both Orwell and Marshall crashes on the ground next to the group.
Wait! What about Kenzaki?
Just as he says that, Bagan bats the Saint away with his left hand. Orwell catches her in his arms as McIntyre creates a portal. Bagan flies and lands at the entrance of the docks. Its horns glows bright white. The beast opens its mouth. It inhales and fires white plasma breath. Everyone ducks, but Kamajo bravely catches the blast with his right hand.
Go!
The power that he is feeling is reminding him of the Daihase festival and what Misaka went through. The sorcerers run through the portal as fast as they can. McIntyre throws a massive boulder from his sword, hitting Bagan's face, causing it to stop. Kamajo collapses and clutches his right hand, writhing in pain. Bagan shakes its head and looks back at the end of the dock. The boy, Ultimus, Index, and McIntyre are still there. It runs to them. McIntyre grabs Kamajo as Ultimus jumps into the boy's pocket, and they and Index jumps through the portal. It closes as Bagan's foot smashes down. Frustration grows within the beast. A sense of energy hits its mind, a power that it has not felt in a long time. Something very familiar to it.
My lord!
It turns to Xenoff, absorbing the white flames into Hades. You sensed it as well? The beast nods, confirming his suspicion. Could it be? He shakes his head. We will worry for that later. Right now, there is one last thing that we must complete. 6:30 a.m. Near the summit of Divis, Adrian Flynn, the First Minister of Northern Ireland, is sitting at a table with a piece of paper, the unconditional surrender document created by the Celtic Republic, and a pen. Sitting on the opposite side of the table, Xenoff, who has just turned Prime Minister of said Celtic Republic, is staring at him dead in the eyes. Mr. Flynn, why are you hesitating? Well, I don't know about this. You are the one who advocated for a united Ireland. Wasn't that your wish? Yes, but with the circumstances that happened? Standing around the two, 40 yards around them, are all of the soldiers, high-ranking officers and admirals, and the chiefs of staff. Looking down is Bagan watching closely, the latter of which scares the man to no end. The casualties of the Civil War were unavoidable, and they forced my hand. And now, here we are. Flynn is still focused on Bagan staring back at him. Oh, our lord, it will let you live on one condition. You sign that document, and not only the Civil War officially ends, and all of Northern Ireland incorporated into the Celtic Republic, but you and your family will be granted immunity. Flynn focuses back on the Celtic Prime Minister. Well, I guess that's reasonable, but I would have to contact the British government. The British are the ones who refuse reunification, resulting in what you see right now. So, it is either the document, or all of Europe will be at war. Flynn looks around him once more, then at the document. His hand trembles as he grabs the pen. With tears running down his face, he finally signs his name on the dotted line. He finishes and sets the pen down. He wipes his face of tears. Jonathan stands up and walks over to him. He pulls out a tissue and hands it to him. Mr. Prime Minister, this wasn't my first choice of reunification. Xenoff pats him on the right shoulder. Neither was mine. But think about it. Look at how far this country has come. He turns his attention to his men and women and Bagan. Over 200 years ago, this country was forced into the United Kingdom. The people were not treated as well as their own people. 100 years ago, there was talk of home rule, self-governing, but the kingdom refused. It took a great struggle for independence to achieve that goal, only for those in the north to become traitors. He slowly walks away from Flynn. For 30 years, our country has been terrorized by bandits and rebels who wish to disrupt our great society. We have lived through it all. Persecution and discrimination, famine and wars, terrorism and purges. But now, look at us. Not only did we show the world that we wanted reunification, we have shown it that we can become one. Not only have our promises been made, but we have also secured our fate. And while we do not possess any nuclear arsenal, we have shown the world that our country, with the help of our new allies, has become a new power. Ladies and gentlemen, and my lord, the road that we have chosen will not be an easy path for us to travel through. But I can proudly say that we have achieved the impossible. We have achieved what our ancestors dreamed of. He turns, grabs the document, and holds it above his head. On this day going forward, will be known as Irish Unity Day, the day that our nation is whole once again. We march back to Dublin not as just victors, but as a united Celtic Republic. Rejoice! All of the men, all of the women, and every single civilian erupts into cheers. Bagan arches its head up and victoriously roars into the morning sky.